Hey, how's it going? This is Danny from Made of Metal, aka Britain's strongest drummer, and you are listening to another episode of what is now being called Strongman Riffs. Yeah, I decided to update the name from Desert Island Riffs because that title doesn't really put across the fact that I'm talking to athletes from Strongman and Strongwoman. So hopefully the name Strongman Riffs gets across the strongman part and it gets across the music part. So hopefully that will make it slightly easier for new people to find. But anyway, you don't care about that, do you? You are here. You've clicked to listen to a conversation mostly about music, but also about strongman with a guy who is on an absolute tear at the minute in the under 90 kilogram strongman scene. He won the first ever Kaos Classic Invitational. He won very recently, but we recorded this before, Europe's Strongest Man. And next in his sights is the world title that narrowly slipped out of his fingers last year. He's coming for it. He's hungry. He is Mr. Dan Benson. So yeah, it was lovely to have a chat with Dan, as I say, about strongman and about music. He is actually my coach at the minute. We've been working together since about December, and so it was also nice to have a chat about things that weren't 12-inch snatch grip deadlifts with a 4-second eccentric that he likes programming, but he is one of the strongest deadlifters on the planet. So you'd hope he has an idea about these sorts of things. But yeah, it was a good chat, as has been the trend with pretty much every single episode of this podcast that I've released so far. There were, of course, technical difficulties. I'm learning just a little bit more every single time. So yeah, during this recording, I won't get too into it because it's really boring and kind of embarrassing. I lost my internet for 20 minutes or so and spent a long time scrambling around trying to get back into the chat. Dan had the patience of a saint, so I was really happy that we were able to sort it out and carry on with the chat because, again, music-wise, there's some crossover between Dan and my taste, but also some new stuff. Every single episode, I am being exposed to new stuff and loving it. So, yeah, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. I will be back at the end with maybe a couple of music recommendations because I just got back from a festival. But for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the latest episode of Strongman Riffs with Dan Benson. All right, so I am here with the inaugural Kaos Classic winner, Dan Benson. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, bud.
Pleasure. I know you've talked about the Chaos Classic quite a lot, but I want to touch on a couple of things. Like, have you watched the live stream back?
No, I haven't. No, that's quite common for me for competitions. Quite a bit is watching myself back. I don't often do it.
I can understand that. There were a couple of moments on the commentary where I just lost my mind, and one of them was certainly your 11th rep on the deadlift. It looked like it took forever. It probably felt like it took longer because, I mean, we all know what heavy deadlifts feel like at the best of times.
Absolutely, yeah.
Did you know that you got that 11th rep? Because obviously it was up to a video review afterwards. Was there any doubt in your mind?
Visually, no, because I went with the referee. He gave me the down signal. He dropped his hand, so it's the only time I was ever going to let go of that bar was either the whistle blows or his hand goes down. But it was only that's how I knew that I had it. I that rep stole my soul. So it took forever to get it past, sort of from the knees upwards. But no, there was no doubt that I was at least going to attempt it because I was in such a position where I was able to go after all of the other sort of top tier deadlifters, so I knew the number I needed to hit. And if you'd asked me 2-3 weeks ago, or 2 or 3 weeks prior to competition, that I would out rep John Hack, I would have laughed in your face.
And I think the other moment that I lost my mind was the power stairs. Just you finishing with that such a decisive lead. Like going into that final event, was it just stay cool, just stay calm and focused and get it done?
Largely, yeah. I went into into that final event knowing the position that I was in. I'm not really one to take it easy on the event, or be told that you only need to do 3 out of the 9 steps in order to win. But I'm not going to go. I'm not going to do that. I'll always finish the event. I probably would have done it differently if it was very, very important that I performed incredibly well. I might have attacked it a little bit more, similar to John Hack, where I don't have to put them down before the first step. So I could have shaved another 3, 4, 5 seconds off, perhaps. But no, I was always gonna finish the event. But I was much like a lot of it. I was just very, very cool and calm, like you said. Just going there, just tick each step off. I had 9 to do, and once it was done, it was done.
So we're already looking forward to, I mean, as we sit here now, we are 7 days out from what will be the end of the OSG European Championship. So I imagine around about this time, certainly you will be done and dusted. This is going to be released way after the fact, so you can be as honest as you feel you want to be. But are you feeling good going into that competition?
Right now, after Chaos, I feel incredible. That win, they say that one of the most powerful things you can get approaching competition is momentum, and I'm certainly going to make the most of that. And I'm going to barrel into Europeans. I feel in such a good position right now. Had my niggles, had my issues, and they've all been sorted. My body feels great. Now it just comes down to being well rested and making weight, which is the worst part of this whole process.
So yeah, in terms of making weight, obviously you had, how much weight did you cut roughly for the Kaos Classic?
Just over 7 kilos.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be a similar rough week for you.
It is. It's tough, and I'd like to say it gets easier the more you do it, but it genuinely doesn't. You kind of learn from each one, sort of the weight you should be on Monday to make the cut easier, ready for weighing on, which obviously in this case is Thursday. So I've got a few less days to play with. I've started my water loading today, because obviously compared to a Saturday weigh-in, I've got 2 extra days that I can't load for. But no, I should be good. Touch wood, I should be good.
Have you ever had any issues making weight before?
I've never not made weight, but there's always the first time.
Do you think the multi-day format, 2 events a day, do you prefer that, or would you rather just get all the events done in one day and be done with it, rather than all that time in between?
It's tough. I understand obviously why they do it. It's the sheer volume of athletes that are going to be there. I guess there's 2 different approaches. I would probably prefer to get it all done in one day. However, having it extended sort of over a weekend, it kind of adds to the spectacle of it. We get to see like 8-10 different weight classes, and we get to see how different weight classes perform. And there's some big names at Europeans and at Worlds as well. So I myself, as an athlete, would prefer it to be on 1, maybe 2 days. But I'm sure as a spectator and as a fan of strongman like myself, I'm happy for it to be spread over 3, because, like I say, it adds to the spectacle. It makes it more than just every other competition.
Yeah, I mean, I can't make it to London that weekend, but I'll be cheering all you guys and girls on from the comfort of my sofa, nicely reclined, snacks around me. Yeah. And you've already, so you got back to a couple of heavy days training fairly soon after the classic, right?
I did, not as soon as I wanted to, but I did. To be honest, after the Chaos Classic, firstly, I was kind of hoping there was a 7th event, because I still felt really fucking good. And I messaged Tom, my coach, on sort of lunchtime Monday, asking if I could now start my prep for Europe. He told me to go back to bed. So yeah, I didn't start my prep until the Wednesday, I think. I'm sure he knows what he's doing.
You posted that video of you doing the training the deadlift ladder, but the under 105 weights.
Yes, yes.
Did you choose? And you, like I say, this is going out well after the fact, so you can be honest. Like, was that like the choice to upload that like a power play sort of thing? Get inside people's heads.
In a way, I guess, yeah. I mean, it can be seen that way. Um, but no, my plan from my coach was to do competition weight on set 2 and to go heavy, then comp weight on set 3. So it wasn't intentional. I think it was only after the fact that I looked up what the 105 weights would be, and it just happened. I think it was more of a coincidence than anything else. And to me, having a top number 300, it made, well, for a sensible jump for the top number to be 320. I could have pulled more, for sure. I don't know if I could have pulled the open weights, but I would have given it a damn good try. But you can kind of call it a bit of a flex, I suppose, but it was, yeah, completely unintentional.
And obviously, in terms of deadlifts, you are a fantastic deadlifter of that. There's no doubt. You did a record attempt earlier in the year. It was about April time. I think it was April. 400 kilograms.
Yes.
And I've said this a few times. Like, there are people that have said they're going for it, but you are the only person so far to actually have had the weight on the bar and move it off the floor.
Yes.
Is it something that you are going to attempt again?
Yes, I do think so. I do hear sort of noises of other people potentially trying it between now and Worlds. If ever I'm going to fit it in anywhere, it will be in that gap. I've had to prioritise. Obviously, I've prioritised Kaos and I've prioritised Europe's, and I will be prioritising Worlds because after what happened at Worlds last year, I have big unfinished business with Worlds, and I would rather win the world title. That being said, the number's nice. I do think that the number got in my head a little bit in that I focused solely on the number rather than just pulling the world record. I mean, as is evident in my training, I don't think I ever put a weight to it, but during the prep for it, I did pull 392. So I do unofficially have a world record in it, and 8 kilos doesn't sound like a lot, but at 400 kilos, 8 kilos makes the world of difference. But yeah, no, I do definitely want to do it again. It's just a matter of when and whether or not I would be the first person.
Obviously, you've had a successful competition year thus far, and hopefully that will continue into Europe's and Worlds. But what about your first ever strongman competition? What would you remember of that?
Not a great deal. I'm old now. It was back in 2016, I want to say. I think my first ever one was. And that was Cambridge's Strongest. Very prestigious title. I don't remember where I finished. I think I was very much middle of the pack. It was just my first ever sort of novice competition. I remember having deadlift for reps, and the deadlift was 180 kilos. I don't remember what I got, but I think 5 or 6 reps was I was happy with back then. We had a truck pull and we had stone over yoke, which was 90 kilos from memory. I don't remember what the other 2 events were, but yeah, it's been ever since then. The sport has kind of been deeply ingrained within me, only ever wanting to do better. And I'm at a world stage now, so I'd like to think that I've achieved that.
So did you, for that first competition, did you have much access to strongman implements or things like that, or was it a case of you saw the competition, signed up, and just got stuck in?
Exactly that. I didn't have a coach coming up to it. I was training and working in a commercial facility, so a commercial gym. Your standard sort of rubber coated barbell, sort of plates and chrome everywhere, all cable machines and everything. So, with my very limited knowledge of the sport, I did what I could. But yeah, certainly, I don't think anyway I'd ever touched an Atlas stone until that point.
So when it comes to training, do you prefer training solo or with people?
That's a tough question because I guess, yeah, preference, I would prefer to train with other people. However, so far 98% of my training has been on my own. I train when I can, which typically, I'm blessed enough to be self-employed and I work from home. So for the majority of the time, I'm training between sort of 1 and 3 p.m. most days. Most people I know are obviously at work at that point. And that being said, reaching out to sort of fellow strongmen would be fantastic. I'd have to make that work at the weekends. And then obviously with the kids and things, that's a little bit tougher to do. And in the gyms that I train in, I don't know, I keep myself to myself quite easily. I'm more than happy just to stick some headphones on and just grind away until it's time to leave.
Yeah. I said quite a few times I'm kind of similar. Like I probably prefer training by myself, just because I know I can get my head down and just work through each exercise, sort of tick everything off. But there are times when I think having people around would help. Like this is awkward to admit, obviously, because you are my coach. But sometimes there are sets that don't quite go to plan. That I think I've done 2 out of 3 sets. I can just leave that last one. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But if someone was there, probably be. I don't always do it.
That little caveat, just throw that in there.
I think in terms of no, I think as a client, I'm usually pretty honest with comments and things like that. But yeah, so like you work out with train with headphones on. What sort of music is generally in your headphones while you're training?
I think for the most part, I've grown up with relatively heavy music. I've never quite delved so far as into deathcore and things like that, but I'm very much more. I prefer sort of anything from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s has always been great. For the longest time, I've been a Metallica fan, so that's sort of era. Metallica, Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, that sort of era.
Yeah, because I've spotted you've got at least one Metallica tattoo. Have you got more?
I have underneath another tattoo. Yes, I do have a second one, but it's on my shoulders. It has been covered up.
Okay, because I think I saw once you got the Metallica M like star.
Oh yeah, on the back of my calf. Yeah, I've got the ninja star.
Yeah. So, what was your introduction to Metallica?
One of my friends introduced him. At a similar time, they introduced Pantera as well. I think, if I remember rightly, the Black Album was the first album from Metallica that I got introduced to. And obviously, by that time, everyone knew Enter Sandman. Everyone knew that. Everyone knew Nothing Else Matters because they're probably the most played of their tracks. At least that comes to mind right now.
My first introduction was they released The Memory Remains off of Reload as a single, and it did well enough for them to play it on top of the pops.
Oh, wow.
And I think that was the first time I saw Metallica, and then after that they released Unforgiven 2.
Yeah.
And both songs are kind of fairly slow. They're quite heavy, but I went to go see them in 1999 at an all-dayer called The Big Day Out, which I found the ticket for, and it cost £30 for like a full day's worth of music.
Yeah.
And then they started playing the earlier thrashier stuff, and I had no idea that side of Metallica existed.
Yeah.
And just sort of hoovered everything up from then. So have you ever seen Metallica live?
I've been lucky. I'm lucky enough to see them live twice. The last time was in 2008, so I've not seen them since then. Wembley Arena they played.
So I've only ever seen them headlining festivals. I've never seen them at their own like tour shows. So you saw them in 2008 at Wembley Arena. I assume that was one of their.
Yes, yeah, it would have been one of their tour shows, and I suppose it's different to festivals obviously because they have their own setup. It was exactly as I've seen on footage that I've seen of their live music, and one of my favourite collections of theirs was it was an Injustice for All tour, and it was called Live Shit Vision Purge. Arguably my favourite live show of theirs I've ever seen. It was very similar in the fact that the stage was in the middle of the arena, and the crowd was surrounding them. They put on such an incredible show.
Yeah, I've followed them on Instagram, so they're posting up lots of shots from their most recent tour, and they've got, I think they still call it the Snake Pit, where everyone's in the middle of the stage. And I was looking at it, and because they're all so spaced out, I feel like I'd have a terrible time, like just trying to just rotating constantly to see what everyone's doing. But yeah, so do you get to much live music?
No, not anymore. Not since the kids.
No.
I just priorities have changed. I can still enjoy the music. I just don't have the time, and I'd rather spend time with the family instead.
Yeah. So are you introducing your kids to things like Metallica, Maiden, Sabbath?
I try.
I suppose it's kind of like it's a delicate thing because you don't want to you don't want to push it too much that they rebel against it.
Exactly, yeah.
But you want to keep suggesting these sorts of things.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'll play it when then, like my boy, I'll play it on the school run on the way home in the car, and yeah, he'll enjoy it. He'll nod along to it, but it wouldn't. He doesn't necessarily ask me who it is or whether I can play that particular track. Yeah, he just keeps himself much like myself and doesn't really. I don't think he has much of an opinion on music, at least not yet. He's 7, so I think he's probably about time.
Yeah. I just got back from an afternoon playing with my 7-year-old niece and just trying to get her to concentrate on one thing for more than 30 seconds is a task in and of itself. So yeah, I can only imagine. So we've got Metallica and Maiden and Sabbath. Is there anyone else that's in regular rotation? I mean, you kind of said earlier that the 5 songs you've chosen to take to your desert island gym are fairly interchangeable.
Yeah, they are.
I was kind of surprised there was no Metallica on there, actually.
This is the problem with, like I said, the songs being interchangeable. It very much depends how I'm feeling, I suppose, on the day or that week, or what's involved in the training, because that's when I listen to most of my music is while I'm training. The other time being when I'm working and I can't have anything but crazy heavy going because I won't get my work done. So that's usually much more chilled. But no, I kind of go through phases. You've got the 5 songs there, and yes, arguably there could be a Metallica song up there. There could be a Slipknot song up there. There could be a Mastodon song. There could be a Mudvayne song. It could be they're very interchangeable. And I have there are certain tracks from each band that I really really enjoy, and could quite easily swap out with some of the ones that are there depending on what's going on.
So do you have any like specific songs that you might put on for a specific point in training? Like, do you have like I've got the playlist that I sent the song for you to listen to from. I've called it Max Effort. Like I just wanted to put together a load of songs that would kind of get me hyped to a certain degree. But it kind of descended into madness, hence the song that I sent you. But like on there is certainly one song that has kind of become a bit of an internal mantra. And like the chorus to it, I'll sort of repeat in my head as I'm stepping up to an event.
Yeah.
Like not necessarily need the song or whatever, but just kind of. So do you have like situation specific tracks that you might put on?
I think so. A bit like so for me, a big one for me is moving events. So I'm relatively quick at moving events. So I like to try and pick a track that will sort of encourage that's slightly faster than I can make, because if I can get my feet on beat, it makes it easier. I can attract how my stride is going. So for me, one of the tracks I use for moving events is "Through the Fire and the Flames" by Dragon Force. Incredibly fast, and I'll never keep up with it, but it's what keeps me trying to keep it on beat.
Yeah, and that's like an 8-minute long song as well. So you just zipping back and forth with the farmer's handles in your hands.
Yeah, just trying to keep up with them.
I've never really thought to, because I've very rarely in the past done like cardio on treadmills and stuff, and every now and again a song will come on my headphones that is a lovely sort of jogging pace, but yeah, never really thought of putting a song on and trying to keep up with it when doing like a moving event.
Yeah, trying to get your first strike to match the beat.
Yeah. So you're gonna be going to a desert island gym. Do you like the idea of the gym is well equipped with everything you will need to train for OSG Worlds, say? Like, would you like the idea of being stranded on a desert island with a gym and not much else?
Yeah, peace and quiet.
Yeah, peace and quiet, I can imagine. So yeah, let's dive into these songs, and it's, again, as is often the case, that I've done a few of these now, and there's always stuff that I would not necessarily choose to listen to myself, just because not necessarily aware of it. So let's talk about Ragnarok by Peyton Parrish.
Yes.
Tell me about Peyton Parrish. Is it a person, a band? It
is a person. He seems to be multi-talented in terms of the genre, and he kind of flips between genres. He's big on his quote-unquote Viking music right now, and Ragnarok is sort of one of those. But he's known for his country music as well.
Really?
Yeah. polar opposites of what you'd kind of expect.
Yeah, because I mean, I saw the title, I saw the guy with the Viking war paint on, and I kind of assumed it was from the new God of War game.
It wouldn't be out of place there, that's for sure.
No, it definitely wouldn't. Definitely wouldn't. So, do you listen to like similar sort of Viking type stuff, like that sort of vibe?
I do, yeah. So there's a lot of what Payton does, or at least on my Spotify algorithm anyway. A lot of what I see of his is very Viking orientated. Um, I don't know if it's strictly limited to Viking, but you've got like there's another group called the Who, but not the 1972 Who.
Yeah.
Spelled HU. So the Mongolian throat singing. Again, very very similar to me in that it's not. I don't really know how to describe it. It's not sort of commercial in a way. It doesn't necessarily fit with what we deem as standard, as it were. And it kind of feels like it's sung with more intent and more emotion.
Yeah.
Than a lot of today's music is.
So does this sort of get the blood pumping a little bit if it comes on while you're training?
Yeah, Ragnarok is one that never fails to get my blood pumping.
What sort of situation? Because obviously this wouldn't necessarily be for a moving event. It's not a very fast song. Like what would you cue this up to in your training?
So yeah, Ragnarok would fit me on deadlift.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got the low sort of heavy beat to it, and it's always, they're typically the tracks that I tend to look for are the ones with a big, hard pounding, solid bass note to it, and that is one of those. And like I said, with the emotion that goes into it, it never fails to get me sort of focused and hyped up a little bit.
Yeah.
As hyped up as I get.
It has got that kind of almost hypnotic sort of beat that will put you in a bit of a trance, or not trance, but like help you focus, like steady beat. And you mentioned bass notes. Oh, the Wellermen, Hoist the Colours. Your second song, again, not necessarily a song that I would have discovered myself. What's the story behind this one for you?
I don't really know. Not a lot of these necessarily have an interesting story. They're just they kind of just hit home for some reason. And I kind of get attached to these songs. And whilst they might go for a couple of days or weeks, they will always come back. But yeah, there's a lot from this group, the Wellermen. I think they're obviously all covers, but they've got this, and they've got Misty Mountains from Lord of the Rings as well. And I think I just enjoy the a cappella of it. And some of the guys in the Wellermen, they have some incredible sort of control over their vocals, and there's one particular guy who can sing ridiculously deep. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't put a note to it. But
have you ever tried to sing along to it?
In my car, yes, when no one else is
around. Yeah. We all have. But yeah, that bass singing at the end is just outrageous.
It's absolutely nuts. Yeah.
So again, like, would this be kind of a deadlift sort of song? I mean, I kind of feels maybe a bit too chilled for me to hype me up for something, but maybe when I'm starting my workout, maybe doing like warm ups or whatever.
Yeah. I suppose it would fit well into warm ups. It wouldn't be something I would use for a heavy lift, that's for sure. I probably wouldn't use it for any sort of main compound lift, whether it's volume or not. I anticipate I would use it more for in accessory work, because with accessory work, whilst yes I'm counting reps and counting tempo, they've become very sort of second nature, and I can kind of do that without worrying about it. And I can then sort of just listen to it and enjoy the song. It's not one that's necessarily going to hype me and get my heart rate going and cause me to want to max everything out or anything, but it's nice and chill just to have it on in the background whilst you're basically counting down your 5-second eccentric tempos.
Yeah, again, very, very steady, very regular. So is a lot of their stuff in this sort of vein?
Yeah. They're all very much like that. Like I said, Misty Mountains is the other one that I enjoy from Lord of the Rings. It's all very sort of has that sort of almost cinematic feel to a lot of their tracks. Like it would, it's not out of place from Hollywood or from the movie screen.
Are you a Lord of the Rings fan?
I am. I wouldn't say a diehard fan. I've seen through all three maybe once or twice. I do own the extended edition Blu-rays, but they may have only been watched once through because they're incredibly long. But no, yeah, I'd say I'm a fan. I wouldn't score very well on a Lord of the Rings trivia or anything, but I certainly enjoy it when I see it.
No, I think I've only ever seen the original trilogy when they were at the cinema. I don't think I've ever watched them at home.
Yeah,
I enjoy the memes and everything. But yeah, talking about like hoist the colours, doing accessory work with tempo, you're able to kind of switch off from counting the reps and counting the tempo and kind of focus on that. Are you able to do that with the third song you sent me, Schism by Tool?
No.
Because, I mean, that is anything but regular.
Yeah, because the tempo in Schism is all over the place.
Yeah.
No, I think that's just an incredible track. And, I mean, similar to you, I have a background in drumming. And Danny Carey is an incredible drummer. I marvel at all of his work. And Schism, I think, is the first. Well, I'm sure it's not a surprise. I'm sure most people have been introduced to it when you listen to Tool. I think it was the first Tool track that I listened to, and it's what started my my love of Tool, I suppose. Really.
So, how did you get in, or are you in with your drumming?
Sadly, I've not drummed for. How old's my boy? 8 years or so. I think it's been. I'd been drumming for 15 years at that point. I then moved away from where I was living at the time, and I feel like I'm on X Factor now. But I had a sob story that I had to sell my drum kit in order to pay bills and things. Things, went through hard times and stuff, so I had to get rid of it. I had, arguably, well, for me, obviously I'm biased. I had the most amazing kit, but yeah, sadly I had to let that go.
You can tell me what kit it is. I'll recognise it. What was it?
It was a Tama kit, and I had your typical sort of 80s Metallica, as it were, because I'm a huge fan. So obviously I was going with Tama and Zildjian cymbals. I had 2 separate kick drums. I had 4 mounted toms and 2 floor toms. I had 4 crash cymbals, 2 splashes, a china and a ride, 2 sets of hats, one either side.
That is a serious setup. So please tell me you were using that in a band.
Yes, I was. Yeah, not just for my own
fun. Tell me about the band. What was the band called?
They were called Sever the Strings. We performed. I loved it. I enjoyed it. We performed a fair amount locally, sort of around the area where we were, Cambridge and things. We performed down in Brighton. We performed a couple of shows in London as well. Never sort of big venues, never huge crowds, but yeah, I absolutely loved it. The songwriting process, the show. As much as I get showmanship anyway, but I don't do very much of it. But I loved all of it.
So how much would you get involved in the songwriting? Because I mean, I as you mentioned, I am Britain's strongest drummer.
You are.
I can't play guitar for toffee, but what I can do is kind of say, I like that riff, we'll do that this many times, but then it needs to do something different. Maybe it should sound like this. Like, what was your contribution to the songwriting process, other than hitting things loud and presumably fast?
Hitting things, and then I move on to Strongman. It's like I didn't really separate from the caveman. The songwriting process, I don't think I was obviously responsible for the creation of the drum tracks and things, but I think most of the guitar tracks were done by the rhythm and lead guitarists. They kind of just kept themselves. They wrote, and it was either their way or sort of not really at all. The bassist was okay, but he joined in with it, and obviously then being a drummer, you kind of align yourself with the bass guitarist quite a lot, quite easily. There was 4 of us, and we kind of split 2 and 2 when it came to songwriting.
Yeah, was it a case that, I don't know, can you play guitar?
Absolutely not.
My experience is I can't play guitar, and the guitarists know nothing about the drums. So it's just kind of, we're going to do this, you keep up with it, and whatever. So how long was this band a thing for?
It would have been maybe not overly long, I suppose. I did jump from one band to another. I think I've only ever been in 2. They're both split for your usual reasons, because everyone in high school always makes a band, always creates a band, and then they always go their separate ways through creative differences in air quotes. But in actual fact, they just don't like one member and they can't tell them, and they just go on and make another band. Not speaking from experience or anything.
Yeah, no, that I can identify with that. The first band I was ever in, we yeah, I'll name it. We were called Nervous Disposition. It's very
Nice.
teenage
I like the name.
band name. The
Yeah.
angelfire.com websites are still live. I still dip in every now and again just to remind myself how cringy it was. We shelled out between us something like £1,500 to go and record at the studio in Swansea that Funeral for a Friend recorded their first ever EP, and then I think we split up 3 months after that.
It's amazing.
So we recorded like 3 or 4 songs, and then nothing happened with them. And yeah, that's just growing up.
It's the way it goes with high school bands, right?
Yeah, and I mean, going back to Tool, like that song came out, I guess it was like 2001, 2 maybe not even that. I think 2001.
Yeah.
And so me and my friends were just sort of learning our instruments, and the bass player learned that intro lick to Schism, and I was like, yeah, no worries, and I was just
Yeah.
ticking on the hi hat, doing an absolutely terrible job. So were you ever able to play along to like Tool songs or anything like that?
Try as I might. No, I never got quite there to do it. I think that it was probably the reason was the band. Oh, they all enjoyed Tool, but they didn't see that being the direction that we were going on. So then I focused rather to writing and creating tracks that did align with the direction that they all wanted to go in.
Yeah, as is often the way. So,
yeah.
are there any other Tool songs, albums that kind of stick out?
I did enjoy 10,000 Days. It was a good album. I remember getting that because nowadays albums are never physical. They're always online on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever. You always get a digital copy of it. But there was something about the 10,000 Days album when it came out, and it was hard to explain. It was obviously like a standard book, but inside there were 3D images, and on the front they had a half on the front cover. There was a half page that you could lift up, and you could look through and make the images inside the album pop. I kind of miss that, where bands would go to that sort of effort to, on their albums, rather than just. I understand, obviously, you got to move with the times, but now just to put your album up on Spotify, it doesn't feel quite as. Maybe I'm old. I think I'm old, and I'd prefer the physical album.
You're preaching to the choir. Yeah, I remember one of the first times I was ever allowed on eBay. Didn't really have much concept of how it worked. My dad let me on his account, and I was bidding on a Korean version of an album that I absolutely adore. I paid well over the odds because it was into like the last 30 seconds of the auction. I was like, I want it. And I think it had one extra track or something, because they'd albums would tend to be released in like Japan and Korea with 1 or 2 extra tracks, and they would always be double the price of whatever version was in HMV. But yeah, I remember that 10,000 Days. My friend had that with the viewfinder and the 3D images.
That's it. Yes, yeah.
So all the songs so far have been fairly chilled. I suppose Schism gets kind of heavy towards the end, and then we're just going to do a complete swerve and go into some Limp Bizkit. Keep on rolling, baby.
That's the one. I have no idea. I can't put a reason to it. My guilty pleasure, if you were. I'm not really sure. You know, when you listen to a track and you're not sure why, but it kind of makes you smile, it makes you happy, it makes you in the gym. Obviously, I will be in there, and it kind of just lifts my mood.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes there's no other reason needed than that. You go out to any alternative club or rock night or something, you're going to hear Rollin'. There was that period of time in WWE where The Undertaker used it as his entrance music. So, yeah, okay, so I think everybody knows the words roll in from top to bottom, start to finish. So when it comes on and you're in the gym, are you sort of humming along to it, like mouthing along to it, or are you keeping it all internalized? Your inner Fred Durst. Are you ever tempted to turn that cap backwards?
Much to my coach's disgust, he hates hats. Yeah, no, I don't think. I turn around for you now. I don't think. Yeah, fuck it. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I don't think I sort of obviously sing at the top of my lungs because that's odd in a gym. But yeah, no, I certainly do. It's a track that's easy to sing along to. Like you say, everyone knows the words, and it sort of puts you in that. For me, anyway, this track puts me in that sort of. It's good vibes and good moods and things, and I'm kind of doing that.
Yeah, fully. I mean, one of the real benefits for me working out alone, training alone in like private gym, is I can just prance around like an idiot to whatever comes on, and no one's any the wiser. I mean, sometimes my wife will turn around from the back of the house and kind of look down the garden and see me prancing around, but you know, I'm
married to this.
yeah, I can deal with that. So yeah, the fifth song. This is the first time we've had a double, and it's not taken long. Hail to the King, Avenged Sevenfold. There was someone else that chose this song, and I would be interested to hear your reasons for choosing the song.
Again, I think it's very similar in respect to the Limp Bizkit track. You know, when it comes on, I know a lot of the lyrics. I'm going to sing along to it. It's just another one of those tracks that sort of lifts my mood. Maybe it has more meaning after winning Chaos. I don't know if you want to read into the title much. No, it's just another track. Like sadly, like I say, a lot of these are interchangeable, but this is one that I'll always enjoy. I'll always listen to. I'll always sing along to. It will always be in my playlist. Whether or not it always makes top 5 is not a guarantee. But it's just a track I really, really enjoy.
Yeah, so it was Lewis Blackwood that chose this one, and he said it's his deadlift song, and I kind of mentioned about the title and the you know the chorus, "Hail to the King." Like in that moment when you're listening to it, they're saying that about you, and yeah, I said I completely wrote off Avenged Sevenfold as a bunch of pretty boys with guitars and never listened to them because I was an elitist, and this song as soon as it started won me round, and like I want to check out some more Avenged Sevenfold. Like, do you listen to any other Avenged Sevenfold?
I do. I couldn't necessarily tell you the tracks.
Yeah, just kind of whatever pops up, sort of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And going back to what you said about sort of ignoring, as it were, Avenged Sevenfold for being elite. I think all of us. I think when we get into music, we sort of have that approach, and that it's I like this genre and this genre only, and anyone who tries to break or redefine that genre, just chuck them in the bin. But I think as you get older, you kind of I don't think necessarily that we shouldn't be defined by a genre. We should just if we like a track, we like a track. Fuck it, you know. To admit that I like Avenged Sevenfold, to admit that I like Limp Bizkit or Linkin Park, or it shouldn't matter, and it shouldn't make me any less of a person as much as it did back then when I was in a band. It's like, oh, you like these guys? You should only like this sort of side of things. And Avenged Sevenfold were one of those bands for me as well, similar to you. But yeah, now that I've gotten, like I said, as I've gotten a bit older, yeah, I just respect the music for what it is.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like they're a very popular band. They're very popular for a reason. They are infinitely more popular than any band I have ever been in. So what right have I got to say that it's rubbish?
Yeah.
So yeah, we I also like to find out if you were to step out to a Giants live show, what your walkout song would be. And you've picked "None Shall Live," 2 Steps from Hell, and it's a hell of a walkout song.
Isn't it just? 2 Steps from Hell, for me, they've kind of come out of nowhere. I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember. I think it was Rhett, a strength coach that I used to work alongside in Cambridge, first introduced me to them. And he told me that he can't listen to them unless he's going super heavy on deadlifts or whatever, because it just gets into his heart way too much. He gets, increase your heart rate and things, and it kind of gets you hyped up. And especially if you don't have an outlet for that, you're kind of stuck. 2 Steps from Hell, with pretty much all of their music, do exactly that. Much like I said with the likes of the Wellerman and things, everything that they release is very cinematic. It's like the song itself is telling a story. And it just, None Shall Live is there's many others, but None Shall Live it will always be. I think it'll be my number one, or from Two Steps from Hell for sure.
Yeah, nice, powerful, powerful song to walk out to. And I sent you a song. I sent you a song by a band called Nile, and the song is called "Sacrifice Unto Sebek." Did you listen to it?
To be honest, and I haven't done yet. I'm really bad. I'm very sorry.
No, that's all right. That's all right. Okay, we can. I can now sort of mentally prepare you for it. So, you sent me like Peyton Parish, Ragnarok, very Viking. Nile, at least in the early days, they're full on extreme death metal. You might actually. Well, there's a reason that I really like this song, and it's the drums. So
Okay.
perhaps you'll be able to hook onto the drums and sort of get through it. But yeah, their whole thing when they first started, they're called Nile, and all of their songs are about ancient Egyptian mythology. So sacrifice, I think Sebek is some sort of Egyptian death god. So sacrifice unto Sebek. It's just,
Yeah.
it starts off heavy. It gets ludicrously fast. It's only like 2.5 minutes long. It starts, it stops, and that's it. I actually made the mistake of trying to do, what was it? It was a heavy axle overhead press while this song was on, and it was a bit too much. I got a bit too excited, and so yeah, it might be good for me to put on while I'm doing farmers walks or something like that. But yeah, Sacrifice Unto Sebek by Nile. It's a ride.
It will definitely be next up on my playlist. I have added it to it just now.
Yeah, like I say, start with the volume fairly low, and then you can gradually increase it. But yeah, the drummer just does the most insane blast beats I've ever heard, and I've actually got. Did you ever buy any like instructional drum DVDs or anything?
Yeah, I've been down that road a few. Yeah,
Did you find any of them useful?
absolutely not.
No. So I've got in quote unquote instructional DVD from the drummer of Nile who plays on this track, and I think he's Greek or something, so he's kind of speaking in a European accent, and he's like, oh, okay, so when I go into the studio, I like to warm up by doing blast beats. I'll start at 200 BPM. He does it, and he's like, and then I work up to 300 BPM, and he's going absolutely insane on the and it's just it doesn't necessarily explain how it's kind of like if you as a coach were to say to a client, here's how I warm up to a deadlift. I pull 100, then 200, then 300. That's what I do, and then kind of leave it at that. It's just like, it just leaves out all of the progression. But yeah, he's a ridiculous drummer. So yeah, being a drummer yourself, like that's kind of what I listen to more than the vocals, because you can't understand a word they're saying. I think they're actually singing in Egyptian for some of it.
Oh wow!
But yeah, so yeah, you'll let me know how you get on and what you think of it afterwards.
Yeah, definitely. I've got planning to do anyway, so I'll be listening to it straight after this.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for coming and chatting, and apologies for the minor technical hitch at the start of this, but
that's right. We got there in the end. It's good.
Yeah, one day I'll become a professional, semi-professional sort of podcasting person. Obviously, good luck for OSG Europe's, and
thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll catch up soon. Cheers. So there we have it. That's another episode in the books. Dan Benson, I think you'll agree, it was a good chat. He is gunning for that world title, and on his current form, it would be difficult to bet against him. I know, obviously, we haven't seen him compete against some of the Americans that were there at the official Strongman Games last year, but Dan's got a real focus at the minute, and yeah, here's hoping he does it. And I'm, a little bit biased probably. But yeah, let's talk about music. So I just got back from a festival called Arc Tangent. I won a ticket to it, free ticket through a competition from the bands that were on the lineup. They all had a certain amount of tickets to give away, and and I won a ticket through one of those. And that band, I suppose, should be one of my recommendations. So they are a band called Grief Ritual. They are on Spotify. They're very chunky, sort of hardcore with the odd blast beat. Very solid. The minute they're sort of opening up festival bills, but they attracted a decent crowd this last weekend and absolutely delivered. The lineup at this festival, it was kind of all over the place musically. You had heavy stuff, you had chaotic stuff, you had melodic stuff. If you are feeling brave, one of the most chaotic things that I saw over the course of the weekend, and I've mentioned them quite a lot, chatting about this weekend with people that I've caught up with. Liturgy, Liturgy. Uh, there's not really any words. It's madness in music form. It's definitely not something to train to. Absolutely not. But I don't know. Like I say, if you're feeling brave, turn the volume down, stick some on, and I'm going to say Igor as well. Igor was a lot of fun. That's Igor with 3 R's. That was a lot of fun to watch live. So yeah, I'll be adding all of the songs that Dan talked about and the song that I sent Dan to listen to, which Naughty Boy didn't. I'll be adding those to the Spotify playlist, which is going to still remain Desert Island Riffs. So that's not changing, just the name of the podcast. But yeah, I'll be back soon with another episode. We've got a couple of really good guests to chat to, another champion in the sport. Yeah, so keep an eye out for it. And yeah, if you've enjoyed the chats, if you enjoy the music, like let me know. Hit me up, social media or Instagram, YouTube, whatever, and I'll see you very soon. I have been Danny from Made of Metal, aka Britain's strongest drummer, aka the voice of the lightweights, and I'll see you soon.